Hey everybody, it's Justin coming at you, and I wanted to talk about a few things today in the industry. I haven't been back here in a long time, so I thought I'd drop a video. So I wanted to talk about a number of things. First of all, I wanted to talk about documentation. Now, there's something I haven't touched on in a while. And I wanted to let everyone know that if you're a personal support worker, it's always a good idea to document anything unusual in your notes. If you use a device that's given to you by your work, like a tablet or a phone, if you have documentation, if you notice anything out of the ordinary, like, unusual skin tears, bruises, behavioral changes, things going on circulating around the family, it's always a good idea to document anything and report it to your supervisor. Same thing in long-term care, though, too, because these things are legal binding documents, and if you want, also, it's a good idea also to take a pen and paper and a notepad and write down the date and times that this has all happened for your own personal use, just in case, so you have notes of reference for later. But also, the most important thing about this too is it can save your ass if you're ever called into a meeting, or you have a union representative there if your work is unionized, or if like something pops up in court, like a lot of these court cases are happening now where families are suing their these long-term care facilities for abuse of their family members. So documentation, like I said, is very important. You always document at the end of your shift. You read the last documentation from the PSWs before you, and it's very important because, like I said, these are legal binding documents that'll save your ass if anything happens, and also it can save the facility's ass in a court of law, because these are legal binding documents, like I said, and these do carry weight because they're written at the time of the incident. And not only do PSWs and nurses do documentation, but police officers, healthcare people of all types always do documentation because that's what they do. And also, it's a record of the visit or of the place and time that the situation happened, so that they can go back to their notes and refer it later for court purposes later if necessary. I also wanted to talk about in this video about the documentation is not only just important, but going into what I'm trying to say is that no, I'm stuttering here. Sorry, I'm trying to get to what I'm saying. I also wanted to talk about the lawsuits that are going on in the news, because documentation will be important for these types of situations, because if the workers are called into court, subpoenaed and called into court too, they're going to have to refer back to their documentation to be presented in a court of law. Same thing with the facility too. Any representatives that are there too, they will use that documentation to save their butts from being sued. What I wanted to say is what people don't realize too in a lot of situations. I see them on TV and they're saying, oh, my loved one was abused, there's bruises all over them, yada, yada, yada. Look, I'm not dismissing that abuse might have happened. All I'm saying is people who haven't worked in the industry have to realize something. First of all, people are elderly, they have thin skin, they bruise easily. Why do they bruise easily? Because they're probably on a blood thinner, most likely. People are also not in the right state of mind. A lot of these people we take care of in these facilities have Alzheimer's or dementia or some debilitating illness, you know what I mean? And if they're on a blood thinner, they're going to bruise easily. I've seen clients bang their hand against a doorknob and then a big red bruise appears there like not even 20 to 30 minutes later. And you want to know something that happens, or they can break open their skin easily just by, doing the same thing. I've had a client do that before where he bruised and then tore his skin open, and we had to put a bandage on and tell the nurse later. So, these kind of things actually do happen, and people actually have to pay really close attention, because remember, elderly people are frail and they are on medications, which also can make the skin thinner and bruise easier. So don't forget that, okay? I feel bad for these family members who have suffered any type of abuse, or whose families are suing them, you know what I mean? My condolences go out to them. But also, people have to realize in this type of business too that both PSWs and nurses and any other type of healthcare people going into the situation do get abused a lot of the time. And it's the frontline staff who always take the literal blows, you know what I mean? Like, I've worked with people over the years who've gotten kicked and punched, and I've been kicked and punched myself, and I've been bruised by clients and not in the right state of mind. So it happens to us as well too. And if it continuously happens, it takes a mental toll on a lot of people. So don't forget that as well. You know what I mean? A lot of the PSWs and nurses who work in these facilities too, it takes a mental toll on them working with the same people every day. And, it can affect them psychologically too, both mentally and physically is what I meant to say. So people have to realize that as well. And like I said, like the way to fix these types of things is to have better training in these facilities, and for the damn government to pass Bill 33 and to allocate more funding to putting more staff on in long-term care. Not 2 PSWs to 12 patients. They should have 4 PSWs for 12 patients, and that way they can spend more time with the residents, get to know them, be able to finish their work on time, and provide the necessary care within the time frame that they need to for these people. Yet again, the government doesn't see what actually goes on. They don't see how hard we work. They don't see the abuse that we take all the time, both mentally and physically, like I said. And then that's why, these sort of things do happen. And I feel bad for the people who do work in these places. They put their butts out on the line and they still get treated like dirt. So, if anyone sees this video and they see bruising on their loved ones, remember, investigate it, but remember, going back to my documentation, what I'm saying at the beginning, the workers' documentation, whether it's in any industry whatsoever, is a very powerful tool. If I document something and I actually am truthful, and I document things that happen that I notice as a PSW because it's my job to report it and report it to my supervisor, that if it's there in writing and it happened, okay? And if I notice any bruising or skin tears that happen, I have to report that immediately and put that in my documentation, report that to my supervisor. Or any abuse towards myself or the family members, I have to report that as well. You know what I mean? I am obligated to do that. So just letting people know that things do happen in the industry. We do our best to take care of your loved ones, and we sometimes get abused ourselves. So, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone sees what happens behind the scenes. But like I said, one of the ways the government can fix things is that they implement proper training to protect the workers and the patients, and that they also put money into these facilities, not only to fix them up, to get more beds, but to have better staffing ratios. And that's how we need to fix long-term care. All right, everybody? Take it easy. I'll shoot another video to everyone soon. Take care. Bye for now.